This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Josh Jacobs was not on the field for the Packers today as they prep for their matchup on Sunday against Minnesota. The running back dealing with a knee contusion that left him day-to-day, according to Coach Matt LaFleur. Several others did not practice either, including linebacker Quay Walker and cornerback Nate Hobbs. Sunday's game, just the second division game for the Packers this year, but it's also the first of three straight. The division is tight. Bears lead it with the Packers a half game back in second. The Lions in third, a game back. But Coach Matt LaFleur says the parity in the division is something you're seeing throughout the NFL.
It's like every week, somebody that is perceived shouldn't win ends up winning a game. So I think it's a great lesson for all of us involved in this thing is like, you can't rest for 1 second. I mean, you got to attack. And it's not just every game, it's every single moment when you're on the field. Every play is so critical because the margins are, in my opinion, as slim as I can ever remember it.
Again, it'll be the Packers and Vikings on Sunday at Lambeau Field. Kick is at noon. Turning to the Badgers, they will host Illinois coming up on Saturday, what will be the final home game of the season. Kick there is set for 6:30.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
As a proud sponsor of the WIAA, Rural Mutual roots for all of Wisconsin student athletes. Whether they're a hometown hero or they dream of the national spotlight, sportsmanship keeps Wisconsin strong. Visit ruralmutual.com/WIAA to learn more about how they support high school athletics.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Bucs going to be back in action tomorrow night when Philly comes to Fiserv Forum. Milwaukee will not have the services of Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's slated to miss a week or two with a groin injury. Meanwhile, the 23rd-ranked Badgers, they're going to leave for Salt Lake City tomorrow. It's where they're going to face number 9 BYU on Friday afternoon. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
And if he is, in fact, on the development curve that he thinks he's on, or that, you know, when you're talking to him, he said there was going to be as much as a year to get back to feeling good. And then maybe after that, post shoulder surgery, you're going to see him back to a level where he was when he was an all-star. If that's true, and if that's the case, well, then $22 million is a bargain for 1 year of Brandon Woodruff. 1 year deals. I like 1 year deals. Bring them all to me because they are low risk. Even at $22 million, it is not a long-term financial commitment. And I think Brandon Woodruff, more than most pitchers in franchise history, maybe any pitcher, is universally beloved by pretty much everybody involved, fans, players, you know, the manager. I mean, he's had such success, has been such a good dude. I think pretty much fans feel like, if I had to guess, are elated today that he's coming back.
You can't replicate anything that you want to in the minor leagues to get you ready for the big leagues. You just can't. You need to get in this environment. You need to get back out on that major league mound, and that takes care of everything.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
That's Brandon Woodruff. That's the soundbite I played when he returned this last season. And I wanted to find a new soundbite of Brandon Woodruff to put in the intro today, but it's November. Not exactly a lot of Brewers media avails with players right now. So just a reminder of how much fun that was when he came back and performed at a pretty darn high level this season. And then, of course, that voice that you heard before the music kicked in, that was J.R. Radcliffe. We were treated to a special episode of Microbrew with him and Kurt. I have often compared their podcast through the Journal Sentinel to, well, it would be like if the two Sonic guys had a podcast where they talked about the Milwaukee Brewers. One of my favorite shows. So I cut a couple of comments, both from JR and Kurt, mix those into the show tonight. I want to begin with the Brewers, and I want to cover the Brandon Woodruff news in a little bit more detail than maybe we did yesterday. We touched on it lightly, but I can give you some deeper thoughts, including some reporting from our friend Ken Rosenthal, who must talk to Mark Attanasio on the phone as much as, like, does Ken Rosenthal talk more on the phone with Mark than he does with his own kids? And you might be thinking, Grant, that's a horrible thought. I don't know. I talked to Dave from Monona on the phone more than I talked to my dad. So Dave isn't a regular caller. Like, I definitely talked to Cone Roller or Tony in Texas more on the phone than my dad. I just wonder, Ken Rosenthal's story out at The Athletic, he talked a little bit to both Matt Arnold and Mark Attanasio about this. I don't want to call it a sign. It's not really a signing. Brandon Woodruff accepted the qualifying offer for $22 million for the next season. but what it means about the offseason, about the state of the Brewers. So we'll begin the show with that, and then lots of other things that I want to hit over the next 2 hours. This is the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bills. Thank you for being, genuinely, thank you for being here and listening and watching the show. If you consume it on the live stream, it's appreciated. The Wisco Sports Zone app, great place to both listen and watch, especially if you're on the go. And then, of course, Facebook. It streams on my Twitter as well, at Wisco Grant, and on the YouTube page. Would certainly appreciate a subscription if you could spare a click and a moment of your free time. Would appreciate I would appreciate a subscription. Thank you. It helps me out just a little bit. So Brandon Woodruff back for $22 million. This has been a little bit of a weird Major League Baseball offseason so far. The GM meetings just happened. We had 3 or 4 players accept the qualifying offer. Shota Imanaga, Trent Grisham were 2 others. Now, that could be a matter of coincidence. It could be. Maybe this is just the offseason where it lined up, where there were a couple interesting case studies. Shota, Trent Grisham, Brandon Woodruff. It's like, hey, it just lined up where some players were in weird spots. Their teams were in weird spots. They didn't want to break up, but they didn't really want to put a ring on it. So they're like, well, let's just do this. Like maybe. I also think the impending labor strife. I don't want to say the impending lockout because we don't know for a fact there will be a lockout. There's a lot of people that believe there will be. And I would bet dollars to donuts that there will be of some length. I don't know if we're going to miss baseball. A lot of folks certainly seem to think we might miss games. That's a part of it, right? So if a player thinks, well, I can get $22 million or whatever number the qualifying offer would be this year, instead of a 2-year deal worth $15 million annually, well, if I can't guarantee that second year actually happening, well, I'll just take as much money as I can to play this upcoming season, hopefully perform really well, and then get another bite at the apple after the fact when the lockout is resolved or whatever. And then you also have to consider that a lot of baseball players, one's in the position of a player like Brandon Woodruff or maybe Shota Imanaga. If there's no long-term deal out there for them, well, a typical prove-it deal or a pillow deal, as it's often called, oftentimes features some sort of 1 year and a club option or 1 year and a mutual option. Well, again, if you don't think there's going to be a baseball season the year after next, well, then you're really signing a 1-year deal. And if you're signing a 1-year deal, wouldn't it behoove you to take the best 1-year deal? And in this case, it might just be the qualifying offer. I also think, separate of the rest of baseball, Brandon Woodruff and the Brewers just might be 2 parties that are a little bit more likely to come to an agreement on a qualifying offer because of Woodruff's checkered injury history the last 2 years and because of, the connection between the 2 parties. Brandon Woodruff is just about as important to the Brewers as any player probably is to their franchise. He wants to stay. He's working through an injury. The Brewers already paid him to rehab once. So, well, we're going to pay you to rehab for a year and then get a little taste in 2025 and then let you go. There's a lot of factors at play here. Some very specific to Brandon Woodruff and the Brewers, others related to the current state and schedule of Major League Baseball and its upcoming collective bargaining agreement. So some things to kick around. I'm thrilled that Brandon Woodruff is back. It's $22 million and it's only 1 year. I'm fine with the Brewers paying any sum of money to any player for 1 year or 1+. Again, with a pillow deal like Rhys Hoskins coming off an injury, we'll give you the first year at an inflated number. If you play well, you can opt out, or we can, more likely if Rhys Hoskins played incredibly in year 1, the Brewers have said, no, thanks. We can no longer afford you, go nuts on the mutual option on the other side. I'll take any player at any lump sum for a 1-year deal. If it goes great, awesome. If it goes horribly, that's fine too, because it's just a 1-year investment and there's no, like with the Lorenzo Cain deal, that deal was signed with the belief that, years 4 and 5 of this 5-year, $80 million deal, probably not going to be great, but we'll do it because we know on the front side, it's going to be more than worth it. Now, unfortunately for the Brewers, there was a pandemic and Lorenzo Cain didn't really seem all that intent on playing. So that deal aged maybe even a little bit faster than they thought. But again, 1-year deals, I like 1-year deals. I'm always a fan of 1-year deals, which essentially is what this is. It's filed as a qualifying offer. It's not filed as a classic 1-year pillow deal. But for all intents and purposes and for the discussions that we're going to have about the amount of money that the Brewers are spending and their contractual obligation moving forward, which is where the Brewers can get themselves in trouble, spending money over time gets a little bit more risky. They can be handcuffed, into the future. Anybody can be handcuffed for a short period of time. Anybody can deal with any bad situation for a short period of time. It's when it gets pushed out into year 3, 4, if we're still paying this guy, we're still eating this money. So I'm a big fan of this. A question that many people naturally had is, okay, well, what does this mean for Freddie Peralta? Freddie Peralta was already on most folks' radar as a piece that could possibly be moved. In fact, basically the night and the day after the Brewers were eliminated, we're getting stories about teams are expected to inquire about Freddie Peralta's availability. The Brewers are expected to explore trade partners for Freddie Peralta in the final year of his contract, which is going to be, $8 million. And for the season that he just had, and knock on wood, not to jinx him, he has been Mr. Available the last couple of years. He takes the ball every 5 days and he helps you navigate a season. There's a lot of value there. $8 million, pretty attractive contract. But for the lowly Brewers, $8 million for an asset that's going to walk out the door, maybe not their thing. And now, well, if you're paying $22 million to Brandon Woodruff, $8 million to Freddie Peralta, I mean, God, are they even going to be able to afford to keep the lights on? Certainly they're going to have to move the guy. So shortly after the qualifying offer was accepted by Woodruff, the next question is, what does this mean for Freddie Peralta? Well, Ken Rosenthal has a story out at The Athletic today with Will Salmon, who I believe is technically the Mets beat reporter, but he contributes on stories nationally, and he has Brewers ties as well. He was the Brewers athletic reporter for a while. He'd been on the show, not for a while, but he was on the show once upon a time. The story is out today. Brewers don't see Brandon Woodruff's return as prelude to potential Freddie Peralta deal. I'll read you from some of this. And again, I can only imagine how often Mark Attanasio and Ken Rosenthal actually speak on the phone. I'll read you from this morning's story at The Athletic. This actually might have come out last night. Yeah, 10:21 p.m. Last night. Maybe those of you night owls, I missed it. I was in bed at 9:35 last night. Played some incredible Call of Duty, by the way. Thank you for asking. The Milwaukee Brewers do not see Brandon Woodruff accepting their 1-year qualifying offer worth $22 million as a prelude to trading their other top starter, Freddie Peralta, according to owner Mark Attanasio and president of baseball operations, Matt Arnold. Quote, independent decisions Matt and his group will make, Attanasio said in a message to The Athletic on Tuesday. We're certainly excited about our rotation now. Arnold expressed nearly identical sentiments, adding, quote, independent decisions and excited about our rotation. Wow, they really expanded on that. The comments from the Brewers' top-ranking officials, however, do not completely rule out a trade. I mean, it doesn't. Basically, they said one thing will not impact the other. They didn't rule out a trade. They're like, just because we signed this guy to all this money doesn't mean that now we're going to have to trade the other guy away. Although, even if you were, why would you say that? Because now other teams know that you have to trade the guy away, and that hurts your leverage and blah, 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 blah. The Brewers' 2025 payroll was approximately $123 million, according to Fangraphs. Together, Woodruff and Peralta are set to make around $30 million. Thank you for the math. But Milwaukee can reduce the impact of Woodruff's acceptance of the qualifying offer by negotiating a multi-year deal with a lower annual average value. Though the context has changed, the stance reiterates the view Arnold expressed last week at the GM meetings when he anticipated Peralta, quote, being a part of our team moving forward. Peralta, 29, is entering his walk year and is set to earn $8 million in 2026, a relatively modest salary for a pitcher widely viewed as a top-of-the-rotation option. Agreed, I think that's good wording. Peralta had a 2.7 ERA, strikeouts, blah, stats, don't interest me. His salary makes Peralta highly attractive to potential suitors, but also quite affordable for the Brewers. And therein lies, that's the kicker. That cheap contract makes him very attractive, also makes him very attractive for the Brewers, keeping him. If the Brewers traded Peralta, Attanasio would risk receiving serious grief from fans off a trip to the National League Championship Series. Attanasio is also a central figure in negotiations with the CBA. With a potential lockout looming, trading away a top starter at a relative affordable price would invite scrutiny. Would it? Maybe I'm not connecting those dots, or I just don't care to connect those dots. Faced with a similar situation 2 years ago, the Milwaukee Brewers traded Corbin Burnes to the Baltimore Orioles for Joey Ortiz, DL Hall, and the 34th pick in the draft. The difference with Peralta is that Burnes is due nearly twice that amount. Milwaukee could take the same route with Peralta that it did with Willy Adames, another player who is essential to the team's fabric. And I agree, that's an important storyline here. The Brewers kept Adames until he was a free agent, then received their pick in the draft after he signed with the Giants, blah, blah, blah. So that's quite literally every word from the story at The Athletic. Sorry, subscribe, support their work. Ken's doing okay. He's got enough bow ties. I want to make this clear. They could trade Freddie Peralta. If they do, I don't think it will be because Mark steps down into Matt Arnold's office and knocks and says, hey, Matt, $30 million for 2 starters. Can we get some of this money out the door? And Matt Arnold goes, oh, I get fine, Mr. Attanasio, if you make me. I don't think that's how this will go. I'd be floored, and we would never know. But I think a lot of Brewers fans, anytime a player is traded away, while management at the highest levels, they wanted it, ownership wanted it, too much money. Josh Hader was clearly dealt at the deadline because he was too expensive, when in reality it was David Stearns doing David Stearns things. And by the way, another story for another time, I think we might be reaching the point now. You saw Frankie Montas was DFA'd today. They owe him over $15 million to not pitch for them next year. We're getting to the point now where we have just as much evidence that David Stearns might not be great at his job than we do that he is great at his job. Take that, put a pin in it. We'll save that topic for a rainy day. I don't think that the Brewers general manager makes moves because the owner comes downstairs and says, hey, we need to shed payroll. I think payroll shedding moves might be made when the payroll that's shed sucks. Like, hey, if there's a guy on our team who's making $20 million and he stinks, well, yeah, then you might want to get rid of him, but you should want to get rid of him anyways. That's a baseball decision as much as it is a financial one. Trading away Freddie Peralta, what I'm saying, will not be a financial decision. And this is just a very educated guess, watching this team, following this team, talking with people who cover the team. I don't think Mark Attanasio is going to say, Matt, we got to get rid of $8 million. If Freddie Peralta is traded, and to me it remains very possible, it will be because Matt Arnold believes in the strategy of churning through talent. Matt Arnold would trade Freddie Peralta not because of ownership pressure, but because, hey man, I'm not in the business of letting great assets walk out the door for nothing. We may have done it with Willie Adames. That was an outlier. We didn't do it with Burns. We didn't do it with Devin Williams. We're not going to do it with Freddie Peralta. I want assets coming in. I want another outfielder. I want another arm that we can throw in the pitching lab. I want another, pick somewhere in the draft, however that stuff works, right? Some of them are tradable. Most of them are not. We don't need to get into the minutia of that. If Freddie Peralta is traded, I don't want Brewers fans calling the show and saying, oh, Mark made him do it, because I don't think that's how this would go. I think it would be Matt Arnold making a baseball decision within his school of baseball decisions, which again is, we're just not losing guys for nothing. We're not in the business of letting assets walk for nothing. And that's proven to be, over his tenure, I think a pretty darn good school of thought. I think general managers should always be willing to make exceptions to their rules. I think the Packers general manager, Brian Gutekunst, has done that with thresholds in the draft, size, speed, weight, that stuff. You want to adhere to your school and your strategy, but you also don't want to be so blinded by your school or your strategy that you're, making moves because you feel like you have to. Well, we got to get rid of Freddie because we can't lose him for nothing. And even if we get a bag of balls back, we got to do it. Well, no, and I don't think Matt Arnold will do that. I think Willie Adames was the outlier. It's like, man, he's probably going to have a bounce back year and a contract year. He's crucial to this team. We want to compete this year. We just signed or added Rhys Hoskins. We're making moves. So there are outliers. There are exceptions to every school of thought or process that a general manager might ascribe to or follow. But guys, if Freddie Peralta is traded, I don't think it's because Mark Attanasio wants to get $8 million off the book. I think it will be because Matt Arnold says, this is how I operate, and I found a deal that I think is good, that will better position our team moving forward. So I just very clearly, once again, want to draw that line in the sand, because if I don't draw that line in the sand, and then the Brewers do end up shipping Freddie Peralta again, well, now I'm on the defense with pissed off Brewers fans that think Mark is swinging deals and pressuring his general manager. So I'll just say it out front. Guys, if this happens, I think it's a Matt Arnold decision and a Matt Arnold decision alone. I'll take your calls on this. If you want to talk Brewers, now's your chance, because we got Colten Bartholomew from the State Journal coming up at 4:35. Jesse Temple couldn't do today. He will be on tomorrow. But we got Colten in his stead. He talked with Billy Edwards Jr. His story is now out, so we know some more details about his injury and where he is. So we'll talk with him at 4:35. But Brewers fans, now is the time if you want to talk about Woodruff or anything related to this offseason. We'll do that next, and I'll take your calls. 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
I think if they do upgrade offensively, I think it probably is in the outfield. I think that's probably the better bet on the free agent market, even though I don't expect the Brewers are going to be active at all in the free agent market. I think if they sign anyone, it's going to be somebody on the fringes, a utility guy, backup guy. I wouldn't expect a starter on offense to come through free agency. But maybe through trades, they do kind of have corner outfield guys right now. They do have some dudes. I think they'd have to trade from that depth to maybe upgrade even in the same spot. I don't know. I don't know if I see a deal on the horizon. This is kind of the team, and that might not be appetizing, but they did win 97 games with much the same layout. They're not losing anybody significantly at this point. So I don't know, man. It's going to be unsexy for people to hear that, but I think that's where we're headed.
That's J.R. Radcliffe on Bill's show earlier today. Hour number 1, if you want to go find it in the podcast. He was on at 10:35. J.R. and I love J.R. and he has great work. So this is not me mocking him. It's just, why is he always the guy who has to be carrying the bucket of cold water? Guys, I know it's not sexy, but I wouldn't expect this. I wouldn't expect that. And I think he's right. I would not expect the Brewers. Well, first of all, when do we ever expect the Brewers to go out and pop a wad in free agency? It's just not what they do, mostly because they can't, right? Like, you cannot get blood from a stone. You cannot get big spending from a front office that has no money or an owner that has relatively very little money. Again, billionaire owners, not Mark. I constantly remind you, not a billionaire. So Brandon Woodruff has accepted the qualifying offer. Everyone's naturally now thinking about what that means for Freddie Peralta's future or lack thereof with the Brewers, and what it could mean for the rest of their offseason. So Brewers fans, now is your time. We got about 10 minutes. Colten Bartholomew is going to join us at 4:35. He just has a story out in the last 90 minutes. His conversation with Billy Edwards, a lot of questions answered, a lot of things that we've been wondering about that have now been answered. So I look forward to that conversation coming up. At your Brewers thoughts in the meantime. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's that?
It's Pete.
Hey, Pete, what's going on?
I just want to say that there will be a lockout in 2027. The owners will cave because they always do, and they always do because the Baseball Players Union is the strongest union in the United States, and which and you know their players, well, they understand what it takes to for them to make a lot of money, and they're just not, you know, the owners are going to cave. They're not like the NFL Players Union, which is really weak, or the NHL Players Union, which is the weakest of all.
Do you think they'll miss games? Do you think we'll miss actual baseball games?
Oh, yeah, right. I do. I think if there's a season, but I mean, it may go into May or June, and then so if and that would be lucky. I mean, they're not the baseball players are not going to give in. They don't. That's why they're the highest paid.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it. So if all the people that are out there, are salary cap, it's not fair. Well, it's like life isn't fair either.
Correct.
That's how it is.
You are
So
correct.
I mean, if you want something but neither is pro football, where the owners get 50.5%, 5%, and they also make the players kick in for to build them their new stadiums. I mean, ridiculous union. They're just wasting their money.
They're
They
a
might
weak
as well,
union. The owners are eating their lunch every couple of years. Baseball, and what's wild, Pete, is like baseball players know this is coming. They've been publicly commenting. Bryce Harper told Rob Manfred to get the F out of the clubhouse. Like this CBA is, at the time, it was like a year plus away, and they're already charged up about it. Like that's just how that union operates.
And the silly thing about it is that, owners like Pittsburgh, they rip off everybody.
Agreed.
They rip off the people in their, like the owner of Pittsburgh, rip off the people to get a new stadium or I'm going to leave. And then they rip off the other owners because they get they get money from the other owners, with the luxury tax. But that's the way it goes. I mean, when the union, this won't make much sense to young people like you, but when the union calls the owners, they call collect.
Yeah. No, I know. I know generally what that means. Pete, that's a great call. Thank you. And we'll talk more about this. I just got a couple people I want to get to before. The salary cap seems like such a noble idea, right? And Pete, if we had more time to talk, and again, there's others I want to get to, I think you'd agree with this. The salary cap to us seems like such a noble idea. Well, it's leveling the playing field. And I guess in a sense it would. I don't think it levels it as much as many people would think. But for a large portion of the owners, poor Pirates fans, we got to pick on their owner, and there are many more like him. They don't want to spend. So it would be music to the owner of the Pirates or the Twins' ear to say, oh, so you're naturally going to force the big-time teams to spend less so we don't look as bad? Like, of course the owners would want that, but that has nothing to do with, nobilizing the game in a way that makes it more equal for all. It just makes them look less bad when they take their revenue sharing money, stick it in their pockets, and they don't invest it back into their team for their fans, right? And I think, Pete, again, I didn't mean to run you off the air, hang up, and make my own point, but I think you probably would have agreed with that as well. Line number 2, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, Clemhead Mike.
Hey, Clemhead, how's it going? You've seen a lockout. You've seen. I see you commenting on the live stream about this in '94.
Yeah, they had a strike in '94. I went from 1994 to 2014 without watching any baseball, and I survived it. Baseball, the average baseball fan, I've said this before, 55 years old. The small market teams, they know they can't compete. They're losing fans. Young people aren't watching baseball anymore. Major League Baseball is dying a long, slow, and agonizing death, and they're all too short-sighted to see it. I am ready to go 2 years without baseball. I can, if it improves the game and makes it equal for everyone. They need a salary cap. If other leagues can have salary caps, they can have a salary cap. If a guy's making $75 million a year to play baseball, that's really sad. But I'm ready for him to strike. I'm ready for a lockout. 2 years, make those guys suffer, and then make them come back to the table with their hat in their hands and say, please, sir, may I have some more?
It just seems like such a bummer. And Clemhead, there's one more I want to get to. We'll talk more throughout the week. Thank you. And it's good perspective on something that you experienced in the 90s and many fans did and I didn't. And some folks came back with like the Bonds McGuire thing. And I'd ask you what brought you back in 2014, different conversation for a different time. It just sucks for baseball because it feels like the sport, while not on the NFL's level, it seems like it's in an awesome spot. And maybe it's just because the Dodgers are awesome and the Yankees were just in the World Series. Like maybe it's just the big markets and the big stars. Maybe it's as simple as that. But I think the rule changes day to day for baseball fans made the product better. It seems like the sport's in such an awesome spot. And if they lock it down for a year, I think it kills a lot of that momentum, which is a bummer because I'm a big baseball fan and I love talking baseball on the show, and the Brewers are good and competitive. And I feel like the sport over the last 3 or 4 years has made a lot of headway. And if there's a lockout, I just think they go back probably even to a worse spot, where they were 5 or 6 years ago. One more call here, and then we're going to get to Colten Bartholomew next. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, Corey out of Marshall. I'll
Hey, Corey.
make it fast. So, if I recall correctly, I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. Baseball just enjoyed their best ratings in the past, decade plus.
Better than the NBA in the World Series. The World Series
NBA,
smoked
so
the NBA Finals.
That's false information that is dying a slow death, because I'm 48. So, yeah, I'm probably I hope Clem is listening. So, I'm 48. I've watched baseball a long time. We have friends that are in our age bracket, and they've got sons that are teenagers that are playing baseball, and they're all about it because they want to play sports. And I would say probably something that's dying more of a slow death that we don't want to talk about would be football, because so many people are scared of their kids getting their heads concussed. So, but that's a different discussion. So, to your point, though, about the lockout and Pete calling in and being all about the players destroying the game of baseball, or maybe he's not, I don't know. But if that's going to be the case, right, let's just lay all our cards out on the table. If the players are going to be so short-sighted, and I get what they're saying, well, we're going to screw over the owners. Okay, fine. Good for you guys. I'll give you a golf clap. Who you're really screwing over is the bleeping fans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We're the ones that pay the bleeping bills that privatize or socialize the cost of these bleeping stadiums. So, you know what? Good for them. I'll give them a golf clap. And then, Leslie, why don't we just get to the end state here? Collapse the damn league down to 6 teams. It'll be New York, LA, Boston, maybe Chicago, probably a couple in Texas. And let's just get it over with and have an expansion draft or have a capitulation draft and be done with it. Because if that's going to be the case, then the players just think, hey, we could just keep this type of system going for forever, and it just ends up being the Yankees and Dodgers in the effing World Series every year, then they will die a slow death.
Yeah,
and they can sit around in their houses with all their money and laugh at us about it and everything else. I'll let you get going. I'm ranting now.
No,
you're not making much sense.
You're good, Corey. We'll talk more soon. I appreciate the call. Thanks for listening to Marshall. The thing, you talk about the players being short-sighted, their careers might be 3 or 4 years. That's the thing. It's in their interest to be short-sighted. They're trying to make their money. Again, don't judge Major League Baseball on what it was in the 70s and 80s. Don't judge it against football. Judge it against basketball, hockey, and judge it against itself 8 years ago. And I think in all of those metrics, it's doing really well. And I'm curious. I mean, I'm not curious. I think I know what a lockout does. I'm curious as to, how far it would set the league back after the progress made in the last 5 or 6 years. But anyways, great commentary on Brandon Woodruff expecting the qualifying offer. Colten Bartholomew, Badger Extra State Journal, sat down with Billy Edwards Jr. That will be our Badger conversation in lieu of Jesse's appearance tonight. That's next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show, excellent to talk baseball in November. Very fun. Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta. What an impending labor dispute could mean for some of these contracts. Very fun, and we can get back to that in hour number 2. Appreciate the calls. But right now, Jesse Temple not available tonight. He'll be here later on in the week, but it works out okay because Colten Bartholomew is here, Badger Extra State Journal, and he has a story out today. He had a chance to actually talk to Billy Edwards, and normally you don't get to do that with injured players. So let's bring in Colten. Colten, let's start housekeeping at the most basic level. As a reporter, I'm sure you've had questions all year long, like if only we could get this information from Billy Edwards Jr. What gaps were filled in? What little details were you able to get that you probably wanted to report for a while in this conversation?
Yeah, I would say just first, like the timeline of the injury and really what it was specifically, because, we've just heard through other reports and, television broadcasts that Billy Edwards has a knee sprain. It's worse than that. It's a full-on tear of his PCL, the ligament in the back of your knee that really kind of holds things together and keeps it from bending back too far. And, it's been an interesting year where, Luke Fickell week to week doesn't ever seem to have much of an update or know where Billy is going to be. And, anytime you're in that reporting chair and you kind of think like, how is this possible? How do you not know like the health of your quarterback? Like what the status of what this guy could do for you.
Yeah.
But talking to Billy Edwards today, it was kind of week to week. He would walk into the training room on Mondays hoping like, okay, if I have a couple of good days and stack a few in a row, then maybe I can play on Saturday. So I think Luke Fickell was fairly honest in terms of just truly not knowing on a game-to-game basis whether Billy Edwards would be available until I'd say the last 2 weeks now where they've kind of all
come to the conclusion that it's just not going to happen this year for him.
So when you said week to week, my next question, my follow-up was, it seems day to day based on what you wrote about. Like, there's some days where he could barely walk, like just standing on the sideline or flying on a plane was like making it worse. And then there'd be days where it's like, oh, it's great. And then 3 weeks later, it's like, actually, I'm worse now than I was 3 weeks ago. It just seems like if I was Billy Edwards Jr., I'd just be so frustrated and disappointed. Like, if you had a clear timeline and you could feel process every day, you know, you can mentally stay locked in, but it seems like he's just kind of wandering in this injury wilderness with this knee.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of putting it, because he mentioned a few times that there's like, you know, there are these benchmarks or different phases that you would need to go through. Like, you have to show the trainers that he had stability in his knee to do certain exercises on Monday and then try some new ones on Tuesday. And then, you know, Wednesday, Thursday. So he would go 1 week and get all the way to Thursday, then get tripped up or, you know, not hit the progress benchmark that he needed to. So then it'd be like, okay, we'll try again next week. Then the next week he gets to Tuesday and can't do that one for whatever reason, whether it's soreness or, you know, different swelling situations with the knee. And, you know, he's been told repeatedly that surgery wouldn't be the best option. This is a better injury to try to, you know, rehab through other means. And the tough thing is he's trying to do that while also trying to prep for games. So he's putting stress on the knee every week, you know, day after day. So then it never really probably rested to the degree it needed to. And that's how you get to the point we are now, where we're not going to see Billy Edwards in 2025 for the Badgers.
Well, and you and Jesse both wrote about this. The idea that a lot of Badgers fans say, he's just checked out. He's trying to get a red shirt or he's on to what's ever next. And I sympathize with Billy Edwards because there's been no information out there, so fans have been left to draw their own conclusions. And it's not a ridiculous conclusion to draw. It's like, okay, well, he's on to next year because this team isn't going anywhere. They're not even going to a bowl. His comment on this was interesting. He said, look, I haven't been able to talk to people. No one's had the opportunity to get to know me. And he said, I don't expect people to know the kind of person and standard character I hold myself to, especially not as a quarterback, but as a person, as a teammate. So I don't have much to say. Reading some of these comments, he's just like, man, I'm just so over this. Like, this has been a crappy injury and there's been no information out there. So people draw their own conclusions. He just, I don't know, some of these comments, it just seems like he's so over it.
Yeah, I think over it's a fair way to describe it. I think it was a refreshingly honest take from somebody going through this. And, you know, usually you ask an athlete about what people are saying on the outside, and it's like, oh, I don't care, I don't hear it, or, you know, whatever. It's, you know, not truthful, but, you know, they just kind of give you a canned answer. He was honest in the fact, like, yeah, I know that's what people are saying, and I get it if you don't know me or if you don't know the situation. And I think there's definitely a little frustration on his end that it got presented to the world through a Pete Thamel report on game day. I think it was week 2, that it was a knee sprain. So then everybody's expectation is he's back in a couple of weeks, as opposed to he tore something and they're hoping, you know, maybe he can come back. And I think that was truly, I think there was optimism early in the year. And then that optimism was never truly tamped out by somebody like a Luke Fickell or even, you know, whoever they wanted to leak that to. So I think there's definitely frustration. Edwards decided that they kind of left him out to dry, like, oh, we hope he gets recovered. So then, you know, the quitting narrative kind of was able to spring up.
So, and you wrote the last thing on Billy Edwards, that he meets the 2 major requirements: injury or illness in the first half of the season, limits the athlete to no more than 30% of the playing time. So you wrote that he hasn't decided or doesn't know what he's going to pursue next. Do you think there's a chance that if he pursues, you know, a waiver or a red shirt or whatever to play next year, that it could actually be at Wisconsin, or does that seem like an impossibility?
No, I wouldn't rule anything out, because if you're Wisconsin, you look at next year, you have a lot of holes on this roster you need to plug. And I know the big conversation has been, you know, the increased investment from the school and more NIL money going to be available from your donors and your corporate sponsors and whatnot. But, you know, if you could go into next year and let's say Edwards stays at the same amount of money he's making, or even takes a discount because he had to rehab for a year, kind of like a baseball pitcher contract. Like, if you're the Badgers and you can get into next year with somebody in Billy Edwards who already knows the system, has been studying it for a year, and you believed in last season at least was going to be a game changer for you, and not have to shell out what it's going to take to get a new transfer quarterback in this upcoming market, which is probably going to be in the $2 to $3 million range.
Yeah,
that's a win. So I wouldn't say that the Badgers should close that door permanently if it's not already, or, you know, I think that conversation is going to have to be had.
No, that's an interesting point. It's like, well, if you don't have to spend that money on a quarterback, what other doors does that open for you around the roster? Colten Bartholomew is here. Read his profile and his conversation with Billy Edwards Jr. A lot of things that we've been wondering, and those questions finally answered. A recruiting thing or two. They lost a 3-star, decommitted. I believe we learned about this earlier today. You might have known this sooner, but the quote is catching people's eyes. He said, I just can't. The first 2 games, they played Middle Tennessee and Miami, Ohio, and those were close games. And Evan Flood had those quotes. Talk about some of the names that maybe they've lost and how this upcoming recruiting class is taking some hits here.
Yeah, so that was Maddox Cochran, the 3-star lineman that they lost on Monday. And then today, Ben Novak, their other 3-star offensive lineman that they've had committed since last October, who's actually the first guy to commit to this class, he decommitted as well. So it's been a really rough week for them on the recruiting trail. And I think a lot of us that have been paying attention have been kind of waiting for some dominoes to fall like this, because this has not been a good year. Everybody knows that. And typically when you have a bad year, this is what you see. Like, we've seen the reports of guys like their top guys like Amari Latimer and Jaden Pettit getting other offers and taking other visits, and maybe even, predictions for other places. But we haven't seen just full out decommitments until the last 48 hours here. And the fact that it's the offensive line where you've got a guy like AJ Blazik, who I would say is, top 1 or 2 recruiters on the assistant coaching staff. If you look at his track record, not only here, but other places, it's a tough look. And, offensive line at Wisconsin, all that tradition, to lose those guys is really tough. But I think it's just a commentary on where they're at. And the fact that it's really tough to sell the vision and the ability of this coaching staff when they haven't put it on the field and they haven't gotten any wins. And I think as fans and I think as reporters, we can all look at the situation of, they haven't had their quarterback, and there's been all these kind of things you can point to. Maybe they haven't had the investment in terms of money. But at the same time, if you're an 18-year-old kid and you're saying, where am I committing at least a year of my life to and a lot of my early college development, it's hard to put yourself in that situation, I think, right now for this coaching staff.
Wins and losses aside, do you think the reputation of Wisconsin as an O-line development school and a pathway to the NFL, has that taken a hit? The wins and losses, yes, but the belief that this is a school I can go to as a lineman and develop and get into the NFL, is that thing maybe taking a step back too?
It's hard to tell, because I think part of the problem is they haven't had that high first rounder or the high round draft pick since 2017 with Ramczyk. But they have had an NFL draft offensive lineman every year since. So I think it's hard to say that it's lost its step there, but it's certainly not the place that I would say, like, you're guaranteeing yourself an NFL look if you go to Wisconsin. Maybe they can get it back there, and I think this particular offense is going to help them more than the Longo experiment maybe would have for offensive linemen. So I think they can get it back, maybe with some of the talents they've got. Like, I think Emerson Mandel is really rounded into form despite playing what I think is not going to be his position as a pro. So, you get some more recent success and some more recent guys get into the league, then you get that reputation back pretty quick. I think that's the thing I'm learning most, Grant, in the last 2-3 years, is tradition matters a lot less now, because obviously money changes everything when you're talking about, the NIL and rev share and all that stuff. But tradition, I think, matters a lot less, because it's like Indiana has no tradition in their recruiting.
Yeah.
Northwestern has done a really good job on the recruiting trail the last few years with no tradition. So it's like, or a tradition that's like a lot of these kids' parents wouldn't even know they're good in the 60s, right? So, like, I just think that matters a lot less than it used to.
Lastly, that Washington win and some development, some young players popping, has a little bit of that excitement. Could that carry them through these last 2 games in a way that maybe makes it possible where you play a good game, you have a shot to beat Illinois, or maybe you're able to beat Minnesota?
I think Minnesota is more likely than Illinois, just because I think Illinois has got a little bit more of a talent gap between where Wisconsin and Illinois are versus where Wisconsin and Minnesota are. And I just haven't been impressed at all with Minnesota's offense. So I think Illinois is probably a tougher ask, even though it's at home. So, it's a question mark to me of how up or how ready can you get an offense to win a game, or to at least give you a shot, because they're averaging like 6 points a game in Big Ten play on offense, which is out of control bad. So, if you can't score a touchdown a game, you're asking your defense and special teams to do it for you. It's possible. We've seen those guys make plays to that degree, but it's just really tough if you can't get some more out of, now the new Carter Smith offense. And the tough thing with that is they're not letting Carter Smith do what he's good at because they can't get him hurt too, because they don't have anybody else that can run at quarterback now. So it's just a really bad situation. And I think, like I said, I think there's more of a chance at Minnesota, but I think a lot of people in this coaching staff are like, let's get the hell out of here. Let's get this season over with and figure it out from here.
When you lose buy-in on a defense week after week, if the offense isn't scoring, but hopefully with your leaders now being, Post and Catalano, those guys are too young to know the difference. They're too young and dumb. Hopefully that fatigue and that wear of the offense consistently sucking week after week, hopefully it impacts them a little bit less than maybe it would a more experienced defense. I don't know. That would be my hope. That would be my
gone through that year after year for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, we look forward to the next couple of weeks and what it brings. We'll follow your coverage, Badger Extra. Colten, thank you and have a happy Thanksgiving. I probably won't see you or talk to you before then. Thank you.
You too, Grant. See ya.
Colten Bartholomew, Badger Extra State Journal. And as he told me before we started, because he had a story come out today, he's like, yeah, more than happy to come on, but just heads up. I think he's got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. He's like, I'm solo duty. And I heard a little bit in the background. I find it endearing, personally. This is not ESPN. We can hear a kid rattling around in the background. Again, I find it endearing. His story at the State Journal, Badger Extra conversation with Billy Edwards. And for what it's worth, our Jesse Temple also has that profile up. It was the two of them that had the story at Badger Connect. So if you subscribe to Jesse, and you should, you can go read it there. But Colten, excellent, and would appreciate your support as a contributing member to the show from time to time. Okay, I think we have effectively serviced both of our writers and supported them. We'll take a break. Any Badger thoughts to wrap up the hour? And then I actually have a Packers-Vikings thing as we begin hour number 2 at 5 o'clock.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Zone Blitz pregame bash is back. Every Wisconsin home game 2 hours before kickoff at the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. And this year, do I have something special for you? It's a perfect snack for game day or any day. Wenzel's Farm Pro Snack Sticks. Come see me and I'll hand you 16 grams of protein to fuel you through the day. Wenzel's Farm offers that and so much more, crafted in small batches using premium cuts of meat. Naturally hardwood. .com, made by pros for pros.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. Let's go Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. Let's go Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show, appreciative of Colten Bartholomew, State Journal Badger Extra, Jim Polzine last week or the week before. A good run of Badgers discussions and topics, even though the season stunk to high heaven. We've got a caller who's waiting. No clue what this is going to be about, but I don't want to make you wait through the 5 o'clock update. Packers Vikings chatter coming up in just a couple. I hate that I said chatter. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Hello?
Grant.
Yes.
Whoa.
Vagabond. I was going to say, there's only one of you on hold, so whoever it is, it's your time.
I was on mute. Yeah. Real quick on the Badgers. Interesting news today, even after the 3-star lineman, now you have the 4-star receiver, the best recruit in the class, which I don't pay a lot of attention to high school recruiting anymore. I've tried to disconnect, but there's something special about high school playoff football. Some of the stat lines that you see, you always kind of remember and pop in certain games. This cat's putting up like 300 receiving yards and like 7 touchdowns in like high school state football tournaments, which is insane. But Jaden Pettit got a fong bomb to decommit from Wisconsin and go to Oklahoma. And I think that puts Chris McIntosh, nobody's talking about it, but it's a really awkward position when you just double down, triple down on investing in this coaching staff. And then the key core pieces of the future of this, already limited recruiting class, but the biggest pieces are leaving and starting to fall apart. If Amari Latimer decommits, they're going to have like a recruiting class ranked in the hundreds, and that's no joke. Tough position for CMAC to be in, and I think, as a Wisconsin fan, even thinking about Posa and Catalano, like these players, it's very easy after a game to say, yeah, I'm here, I'm a Badger, I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
Some of these chips start to fall. Some of those other schools start to, pitch a couple of dollars. People change their minds quickly, so it'll be interesting to see what this does for CMAC.
So you're saying it's a bad look for McIntosh because his words of affirmation did not have the intended effect, or quite literally, they're not cutting checks to these players that are big enough to get them to come here instead of Oklahoma. It's more the first thing you're saying, right?
I think all of the above, to be honest. Like, I think like if we don't have the infrastructure still, right? Like we had these these meetings with donors. We were talking to everybody. You have whatever, Ted Kellner getting involved, and we're still not able to fend off our top recruits this year. Like what are we just going to start the whole thing over and be like, oh, nope, okay, next year is the real year one.
Sure.
When he said this thing takes time, like we can't restart here. We do need to keep the pieces that are providing momentum, mainly the inside linebackers. I do like Hilton at the receiver position. So the existing players, right, as well as the key recruits in the future classes. If we start to see some of those fall, I just don't know how you can look at Badger Nation and say, yep, we're starting to turn the corner.
Yeah. You wouldn't be turning the corner. You would be, it's day one again. It's Groundhog Day again. Now starting year 4. Vagabond John, that's a good call. You can't start over again. And by the way, if this recruiting class falls into the hundreds, I'll take his word for it. The one thing that Fickle had been able to stake his name to so far is, the recruiting class has been elite. Well, if that one thing goes away, I certainly haven't been impressed with coaching on Saturdays. So what's left? All right, good half hour of Badgers talk. I want to talk Packers Vikings coming up next. Hour 2 after this.
This is the Wisconsin Sports Update. The Packers return to the practice field today to start getting ready for a visit from the Vikings coming up on Sunday. It will be the first time Green Bay will see Minnesota quarterback J.J. McCarthy. A little bit of hit and miss from McCarthy after not being able to play his rookie year with an injury. He's thrown 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, but has wins over Chicago and Detroit. Packers coach Matt LaFleur sees plenty of promise in the former Michigan quarterback.
He's got all the arm talent in the world. To see a young quarterback, he's extremely athletic. They do a great job with him. I think Kevin is as good as anybody at putting his quarterbacks in a position to be successful. He's obviously got some weapons around him, and I just think he's a young developing quarterback. I think it's a matter of time for him. I just hope the time's not this week.
Injury-wise for the Packers, Josh Jacobs was not going to practice as he deals with a knee contusion. LaFleur also said that none of the potential injury reserve guys like Jaden Reed and Marshawn Lloyd will be back out there yet either. It's going to be the Packers and Vikings on Sunday. Kick is at noon. Turning to the Badgers, they will welcome in Illinois on Saturday for their home finale. Wisconsin 3-7 on the year. With one more loss, will have its most since 1990. Kick on Saturday is at 6:30.
Is a proud sponsor of the WIAA, Rural Mutual roots for all of Wisconsin student athletes. Whether they're a hometown hero or they dream of the national spotlight, sportsmanship keeps Wisconsin strong. Visit ruralmutual.com/WIAA to learn more about how they support high school athletics.
The Bucs won't have Giannis Antetokounmpo for a week or two. That's the result of some tests yesterday on his injured groin. Milwaukee going to be hosting Philly tomorrow. And pitcher Brandon Woodruff has signed his qualifying offer that will have him back with the Brewers in 2026. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Kyle.
And if he is, in fact, on the development curve that he thinks he's on, or that, when you're talking to him, he said there was going to be as much as a year to get back to feeling good. And then maybe after that, post shoulder surgery, you're going to see him back to a level where he was when he was an all-star. If that's true, and if that's the case, well, then $22 million is a bargain for 1 year of Brandon Woodruff. 1 year deals. I like 1 year deals. Bring them all to me because they are low risk. Even at $22 million, it is not a long-term financial commitment. And I think Brandon Woodruff, more than most pitchers in franchise history, maybe any pitcher, is universally beloved by pretty much everybody involved, fans, players, the manager. I mean, he's had such success, has been such a good dude. I think pretty much fans feel like, if I had to guess, are elated today that he's coming back.
You can't replicate anything that you want to in the minor leagues to get you ready for the big leagues. You just can't. You need to get in this environment. You need to get back out on that major league mound, and that takes care of everything.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Hour number 2, little Brandon Woodruff sound in the intro. We led the show with that back at 4 o'clock. If you missed that, go find it in the podcast after the fact. I'll post it just after 6 o'clock this evening as we get the Bill Michaels Huddle started. That's now 57 minutes away. How exciting. We'll make our picks. We'll hear some sound from the locker room today. Mike Renner going to join in lieu of Mark Schofield. There's some replacements sliding into our normal programming this week. Jesse Temple normally on with me today. He will be on with me tomorrow. So Colten Bartholomew filling in. And Mark Schofield will be on with Bill tomorrow for his segment, one of my favorites of the week, but was unavailable today. So Mike Renner slid in. You'll hear that conversation tonight. Normally at 7, we'll begin hour number 2 and then make our picks. So looking forward to that. Did the Brewers conversation. Did the Badgers conversation. Some good texts, some good calls. We're going to do a clean break, a clean professional reset here. Ives and Packers Vikings thoughts, okay? So consider what's going on with the Vikings right now. Now, from 10,000 feet, I still believe that to be a very good roster. Is it an elite roster? Probably not. But I think their O-line is, at the very least, good. I love Darisaw. I love Brian O'Neill. If you have 2 very good tackles, you're ahead of the curve a large portion of the NFL. I love their 2 running backs, Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. I like their tight end, TJ Hawkinson. Don't love, but you could do a lot worse. You could do a lot. Musgrave. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison are obviously great. Jaden Naylor has kicked the Packers' ass in the past. I love their wide receiving core. Their defense has maybe one of the most highly thought of defensive coordinators in football, probably right beneath Vic Fangio, the likes of Vance Joseph, Robert Salah, Brian Flores. He's in that next group. They have some great pass rushers, although they've dealt with injuries. They've dealt with injuries on defense for sure. But that defense is filled with veteran, good to great players, even though it's not perfect. My point is, the Vikings do not suck. That's not a 4-6 team. That's not a 4-6 coaching staff. Their issue has been J.J. McCarthy, at times, quite literally, has not been able to hit the broadside of a barn. For all of the slings and arrows that people have directed at Caleb Williams at times this season, Caleb Williams has made plenty of big-time throws. The fit in this offense hasn't always been smooth. And I think that's just part of the Caleb Williams experience. I don't know that there's any offense that really he's a perfect fit in. but he's made plenty of wow throws. He's been a little inaccurate here and there. How inaccurate, we could argue. But watching Caleb Williams, it's like he's out there at least giving him a chance. J.J. McCarthy, for long stretches of football, has quite literally not given his team a chance. So let's consider we are Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings head coach, very highly thought of as a great offensive mind, a great rehabber and coach of quarterbacks. He's had many in his time in Minnesota and had success with most of them. In fact, you could argue that Sam Darnold had his best year. You could argue that Kirk Cousins had one of his best years. So let's put on the I would assume what are very big shoes of the very tall Kevin O'Connell. If my team was 4-6 and my quarterback was in hell, and there's probably plenty of the players on the team where it's like, this is the guy, our season is sinking and we're going to let this guy drive the boat. If I was Kevin O'Connell going into Lambeau Field this weekend, I would sit down and say, okay, I need to give this guy a little help. I know he's not perfect, and I can't go out there and make the throws for him, but we need to help him out. So when you have a quarterback that's struggling, you're trying to help him out, what do? You should all know a somewhat reasonable answer to this. None of us are coaches. Maybe some of you are, but none of us are NFL head coaches and play callers. I'm an idiot. Not to make assumptions, but I would imagine some of you are as well, and you're probably thinking, yep, I am also an idiot, Grant. You are correct. The two things that you can do to help out your young quarterback, run the ball, and again, they have two good running backs. And if you've watched Vikings games, how many times have you watched a Vikings game and thought, man, when they give the ball to Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones, good things seem to happen. They can do it. I don't know where they rank EPA per rush and all that crap, but they have a running game, okay? So you would run the football. Another thing you could do to help out a young quarterback, get the ball out quickly. Snap the ball, 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, drop, plant, throw. Get the ball out of his hands, quick, easy, layup type completions to help him settle into a game. Don't force him to have to make throws across the field, out to the boundary, out to the field side, outside the hashes. Don't ask him to drop the ball into a bucket. Let's hit some slants. Let's hit some out routes into the flat. Let's hit some easy layups. I think Kevin O'Connell is smart. And while I don't think he loves to run the ball, and I don't think he loves to throw short, his team is 4-6. His season is slipping away. And if he has any sense of flexibility and any sense of ability to make adjustments, he will do these two things. He will call running plays, and he will call short, easy completions. Now, 8 minutes later, why am I bringing this up? Well, Packers fans, let me ask you another question. This should be rhetorical. You should also be able to answer this. Again, most of us are idiots, but these are easy. I'm giving you layups here, folks. The Packers defense is good at some things, not so great at others. Schematically, what does Jeff Hafley and this Packers defense allow their opponents to get away with? What does Jeff Hafley say? That's fine. You can do that. We will allow you to do that. Knock yourself out doing that. What does this Packers defense allow their opponents to do? They kind of allow their opponents to run the ball, and they kind of allow their opponents to give up short, easy completions. They allow teams to dink and dunk their way down the field, whether it be through the running game or the passing game. If Kevin O'Connell does the things that any reasonable offensive head coach should do in a game on Sunday, he should be able to have plenty of success, even with a limited quarterback, against this Packers defense. And you might think, well, Grant, the pass rush. Well, Grant, Edgerrin Cooper. Well, Grant, Xavier McKinney. Well, guess what? If the Vikings are running for 3, 4, 5 yards a carry on first and second down, as the Panthers did, and as the Giants did, and Drew Brees, for all of the commentary about him as an announcer, I thought he hammered this home throughout the entire game. Why would the Giants ever drop back and throw on first and second down? They are getting at least 3 yards, and on a lot of these situations, especially as the game continued, they're getting 4 and 5. Now you're in 2nd and 5. If you run it again, you're in 3rd and 2, and now 4th down is in play, and you're kind of in a great, comfortable position as an offense. And it should be Kevin O'Connell's first goal to get J.J. McCarthy comfortable. And my concern is Jeff Hafley and the type of defense that he runs allows opposing quarterbacks to get comfortable. And who's to say that if J.J. McCarthy can't hit some layup completions in the first and second quarter and they're running the ball successfully, well, who's to say then in the 3rd and the 4th quarter, now J.J. McCarthy's feeling himself a little bit and now he starts hitting a couple of shots, as we've seen he's capable of, They've been few and far between, but he's capable. I don't like the styles between this offense and defense. And again, this is assuming, I'm doing some assuming here on the part of Kevin O'Connell that he will do what a reasonable play caller could do. I also wouldn't be surprised at all on Sunday if it's bombs away. If it's Phil Longo, go deep, because that's what Kevin O'Connell does, even when it's to his team's detriment. But I think he's been pushed to the brink here. I think the Vikings have been pushed to the brink. They're 4-6 and their season is slipping away, and they have their best player, and arguably right now the face of the franchise, Justin Jefferson, not throwing tantrums on the field, but the next closest thing. He has been pushed to the point now where he is committing coaching malpractice if he allows J.J. McCarthy to come into Lambeau on Sunday, drop back 5 7-step drops, and throw bombs. That would be malpractice. I don't think that Kevin O'Connell will commit malpractice, so I think he will run the ball and throw easy passes. The Packers defense allows or has allowed their opponents to run the ball and commit easy passes. And I swear, if we get into this game on Sunday and we see the same song and dance from this Packers defense, this game is going to be close. Because now, one drop by the Packers offense, or one missed rep by a Packers O-lineman, or one illegal procedure penalty, the Packers are punting, and now they're down 7-0 at home, and the Vikings are putting together another 8 or 9 minute drive. Styles make fights. And I don't like the Packers style up until this point. They could always change. And I don't like what I assume the Viking style will be. I don't like how this matchup is shaking up. Now, if the Packers offensively score on every single drive, and it's a laser light show, and the Packers defense gets off the field just once or twice or 3 times, well, then they could win the game. That's in essence how it should work, right? Yeah, we'll let the Vikings dink and dunk, but in the big picture, the game will come out ahead. But it didn't work against the Panthers, and it almost didn't work against the Giants. Like, the style the Packers have played and the style the Vikings should play on Sunday does not end in a good result for the Packers. That's my concern. Especially if the Vikings take the ball and they march down the field, 8-minute drive. They're up 7-0. The Packers get the ball. Romeo Doubs drops a pass on 3rd down. The Packers punt. And now Lambeau Field is a crypt because it's like, here we go again. It's the Panthers game all over again. I'd like to avoid that. It's Wednesday and I can see it coming. So I hope Jeff Hafley and the Packers defensive minds are like, yeah, we cannot allow this to happen. Because I think that's where this game would go. And that makes me very nervous because the Packers should be much better, but they can't let the Vikings do what they should do. They let the Panthers do what the Panthers did. They're letting teams get away with this. And if they do that against the Vikings, they could, we could be in a game down the stretch. Packers could lose this game. 608-321-1670. Your calls now. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Hello? Line number 1. Okay. Sorry about that. If you're on mute, if you dropped off, call back. All right, line number 2, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Well.
Eric on I-90, what a perfect voice to join this conversation. Our resident Vikings fan.
I have been listening to your monologue, and I think you're right on the button there. I think that's what the Vikings have to do to win this game. Now, will they do that?
Well, that's a lot of assumption because you know as well as I, Kevin O'Connell does not like to run the ball and throw short passes. That's not what he does.
That's not what he does.
Not his thing.
Yeah, this is, it's Vikings Packers. This matchup year to year has been a dogfight since the beginning of time. So you just don't know how it's going to go. I would say that the one thing that's changed with the Vikings defense that I would say is probably a bigger threat to Green Bay than the Minnesota offense is that they're able to get pressure up the middle with their defensive line. They're able to push the center of the pocket with their tackles. And that's made a big difference for Minnesota and that defense.
Yeah.
And, it's not going to look like Green Bay's defense where a team is completely shut down. They'll create opportunities is what I'm saying. And I think that's a bigger threat Green Bay not scoring a lot. It could go. Listen, I've watched this defense just be like can't stop anybody too. So
yep,
it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I like these games,
and I do too, Eric. And I think your original point, great call, is correct. And it's a divisional game, so it's just probably going to be close anyways. I would bet. Right, that's typically how these things go. I'm trying to find the Vikings injury report. Is Grenard, because he suffered what looked to be a significant injury against the Bears when I was watching last weekend, 2 weekends ago. Maybe that was 2 weekends ago. Okay, so Jonathan Grenard didn't practice. That's a big piece for them up front. Dallas Turner just hasn't been very good, but Darisaw was full today, which is a big, I mean, obviously he's just one of their best players. He might just be their best player other than Justin Jefferson. Aaron Jones is full. So Grenard is an interesting piece. He's a stud and one of their more important players on the defensive front, Eric, which is what you were mentioning. He's an exterior player, not an interior player, but still really important. Again, I assume Kevin O'Connell will come to Jesus a bit as a play caller and realize, I got to help my guy. We got to run the ball. We got to throw some short passes. And that's what the Packers defense is perfectly fine giving up. That worries me. And it's a division game. It'll be close. I don't like. Now, the Vikings defense is different than the Packers defense, as Eric said. They can give up crooked numbers. The Vikings defense can be boom or bust. That's always kind of been Brian Flores' bag. Risk taker, blitzer. Jeff Hafley's been the opposite. We're going to give up 16 points. It might be painstaking, and we might lose the game, but we're not going to let you score 30. The Vikings defense could let you score 30. It's just two very, very different styles, indeed. 608-321-1670 here, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. How we looking?
Excellent, Cone Roller. How are you looking today?
I'm looking great. I think we're looking good this weekend, too, against the Vikings.
You have confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're playing against arguably the worst quarterback in the NFL right now. I think our defense, although maybe not elite, we have elite playmakers. And I just think Jeff Hafley is a smart enough coach that they're going to come up with a way to make J.J. McCarthy beat you.
Yeah.
You know, don't let Kevin O'Connell beat you. Let J.J. McCarthy beat you.
Yeah, I just, what makes me nervous is we've said this in the past about quarterbacks, right? Whether it be Bryce Young twice now, Jameis Winston, like even the worst quarterbacks in football, and McCarthy might be that, so we'll test this, but even the worst quarterbacks, if you give them a running game and some quick early completions to get in a rhythm early on, most quarterbacks in the NFL are good enough to then make some throws and beat you in a close game. That's my concern, right? Is if you let him settle in and get comfortable early, he's probably more than capable of winning a close game if the Packers offense then makes some mistakes and allows it to be that down the stretch.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, it's Bryce Young, but I mean, Bryce Young looked like crap against the Packers. That was a fluky game.
That's true.
I just hope the Packers, look, these guys swept you last year. You were 0-2 against them. Like, come in with some piss and vinegar and beat the crap out of these guys.
Yeah. That's another thing. And we were talking about this on Bill's show. Cone, great call. We were talking about this on Bill's show. We're like, what kind of win would make you happy? And I'm like, any type of win. This team swept you last year, man. And I want to see a little more piss and vinegar than we saw in New York last weekend. And I thought Charles Woodson, if you caught any of the postgame show or the halftime show on Fox, was like, hey, guys, you just lost to the Eagles on Monday Night Football. Your coach has been getting killed in the media all week. Everyone's talking about how maybe he should be fired at some point. And you come out and you look like that? Like, do you know how nice it would be, to Cone's point, if they came out just ready to rip like they did, I don't know, against the Lions week 1? Like, can you do that thing again? Can I see a little bit more juice? I don't need you to shut a team out, but can I look like you're not just out there going through the motions? And maybe that's a product of the style of defense that they run, but like they just allow the life to be sucked out of these games. And you can't have that at Lambeau on Sunday against a division rival. You just can't have it. 608-321-1670. Let's go Sports Show. Who's this?
Hi, Grant. This is Riley.
Hey, Riley. What's going on? Michigan?
Yeah, in Michigan.
Hell
Yep.
yeah. What's going on?
So I told you I had a take for you, and it's that it's time to end this Josh Jacobs psyop.
Okay.
Listen, he already has looked slower, more beat down this year. We're now having injury to the knee, and we're talking about he might play Sunday. Why not? Emmanuel Wilson has looked good. Josh Jacobs is a great football player. But why are we trying to rush him onto the field Sunday when the offense has looked better when Love is the one guiding it and the line can't run block? I just do not understand it.
You know what annoys me, Riley, is I brought this up with Ryan Wood or some of our Packers guests. It's like, hey, if Josh Jacobs isn't 100%, give him a week, because the running game isn't driving the team. And I like Emmanuel Wilson. I like Chris Brooks too. And you know what we always hear, Riley? Yeah, but it's Josh Jacobs. If he's able to be out there, he's going to fight to be out there. It's like, well, I don't really care about that. Honest. I don't care about that. Like, I don't care that it's Josh Jacobs and that he's going to fight to play. Like, you tell him he's not playing. I don't like that dynamic. And I've heard it now more than once. It annoys me.
it's just unbelievable. I feel at this point that it is something mandated that I don't know where it's coming from, but they're forcing them to get these Josh Jacobs carries, and it makes me lose my mind every Sunday.
It's just, it's obnoxious because Josh Jacobs, Riley, that's a good call. Josh Jacobs, he's going to fight to play. They're not going to be able to keep him off the field. Well, it's their job to keep him off the field. So sack up. You're going to let a running back tell you if he can play or not? He's hurting the team. The best thing for this team is a healthy Josh Jacobs for the final month of the season. And every game that he goes out there where he's not 100%, only to get clobbered behind the line of scrimmage anyway, endangers that possibility, which is hurting the team. So don't tell me, well, yeah, maybe he could sit out, but Josh Jacobs never going to let that happen. I don't know. I used to remember a Packers medical staff that would actually be conservative with players, and now that's all reputation. That we've been living on that reputation for years. There's two of you on hold. I'm sorry. I got to get a break in. We'll come back on the other side, continue to talk Packers Vikings next. Just give me 3 minutes.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show, welcome back. Bill Michaels Huddle in about 35 minutes. We're talking Packers Vikings. This matchup interests me. They say styles make fights. You ever hear that one on sports talk radio or TV before? Especially, NBA playoff season. You'll get someone on NBA Countdown or First Take. Styles make fights. It's like, oh, God, here we go. But styles do make fights. And my concern about this game, and this is kind of my first thought, this is the first bit of previewing we've done on Sunday, Kevin O'Connell should be looking to run the ball and hit some quick hitters early to help J.J. McCarthy because he needs it. The problem is the Packers defense allows teams to run the ball, and the Packers defense allows those short completions. Now, if you're thinking, well, Grant, but they can't run the ball and hit enough short completions to beat the Packers, to which I would say, well, if the Packers drop a bunch of balls and make some mistakes on offense, yes, they can. But also the other thing is, if J.J. McCarthy hits a couple of shots early, easy passes, and they get some confidence, I think he's more than capable of hitting some of these throws down the stretch in the game. So if you give him all these easy completions, you allow him to get in a rhythm, well, now all of a sudden he's not playing so bad in the second half, and you're dealing with a real legit quarterback that has weapons for days and a good running game to boot. Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones are pretty darn good. So those are my Packers thoughts. That's my Packers-Vikings concern. Right back to your phone calls. Thank you for waiting through the break. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Mississippi Drew. How's it going, man?
Hey, excellent, Mississippi Drew. Nice to hear your voice.
Nice to hear you as well. So it just had me thinking. Sometimes you gotta save guys like Josh Jacobs from themselves sometimes. And it's funny because you could have the exact same situation, but with a couple other players I could think of on this roster, where you'd be like, yeah, bust your bum and get out there and play, right? But with a guy like him with the fight in his heart, he's the type of guy you got to save from himself. The other thing I wanted to bring up was, I wonder, you couldn't get him to talk really seriously and deeply about it, but I wonder if you asked some of the Packers who they're more worried about this year, because I just think about how, over by you guys and especially over by Bill, the main enemy is the Bears, and that's just king, and that's the way it always is. But from being over here, it's the Vikings. And so just the way things are shaping up right now in the division, I really wonder which they're more worried about it, or if it's equal or what. But
well, so I'm glad that you brought this up, and we're not going to belabor this today, Mississippi Drew, but something I was thinking about over the weekend, and we'll get to this in due time. When the Packers play the Bears, I don't think the Bears are 7-3 good. But you know what the Bears are really freaking good at? Running the ball. They do it a lot, and they do it really well. And if the Packers are going to get marched up and down the field by Tyrone Tracy, again, I don't think the Bears have as many good players and as much good talent, although I actually think the Bears have plenty of good players, but I don't think the Bears are 7-3. But again, styles make fights, not necessarily fighters making fights. The Bears are the type of team that can march the Packers up and down the field, shorten a game, take the life out of the game. The thing that they've struggled with, the Bears are pretty freaking good at that. So if the Packers don't figure out a way to stop teams from shortening games, limiting possessions, possessing the ball 3 or 4 yards in a cloud of dust, if they don't figure out that thing, they're not sweeping the Bears. And I think this Vikings game on Sunday could be a little bit more problematic than it should be, considering the Packers at home coming off a win. J.J. McCarthy's been ass, and the Packers are 6.5-point favorites. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Evening, Grant. This would be Tim from Sparta.
Evening, Tim. Tim! Call back, Tim. I'll get you on. Hear that coming a mile away. Call back, Tim. I get you on, I promise. But line one in the meantime. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Denny from Holman.
Denny. Oh, Holman and Sparta back-to-back. This is great. What do you think, Denny?
Here's what I think. I think, where the hell has Gary been lately?
I don't know.
That Egbar's been getting more playing time, or at least the same as Gary. And, it seems after he got that big fat contract, he just kind of sailed away in the sun, And as far as the running back, is this Marshawn Lloyd? Is he ever going to play it down for the Packers?
It seems like, he'll be back. I don't think he'll be back this weekend, but it seems like, at some point he'll be back. Matt LaFleur said he's in a great spot.
Good. Do you think Reed's going to play this week or no?
No. Matt LaFleur ruled that out. They're not going to activate him. But he posted a picture, and everyone started, doing cartwheels on the internet.
And I totally agree with you. I would rather keep Jacobs out for the Lions on Thursday than play him against the Vikings and have him get swallowed up.
I just, again, if Josh Jacobs were having this unbelievable career year, good call, Denny, then fine. But he's going out there. He's not 100%. And if the reason, here's what I've surmised. Josh Jacobs needs a week off. The only reason that he's not gotten that based on conversations that I've had with people, is, well, Josh Jacobs going to lobby to play. He's going to do everything in his power to play. You can't keep him off the field. Yes, you find a way to keep him off the field. You inactivate him for the game. That's the team's job. This Packers medical staff used to be conservative with people, and they've been living on that reputation. Well, the Packers are one of the most conservative medical staffs in the league. Yeah, once upon a time, maybe. Not anymore. They're living on sole reputation in that department now. All right, I hope this is Tim from Sparta. Tim, is this you?
It is.
All right, sorry about that. Sometimes the phone system does that. What's going on?
Yeah, I know about the gremlins.
Yeah.
Just a thing from a continuation from Bill's show that you guys were talking about. The only thing that has been consistent with Green Bay this year is their inconsistency.
Yep.
I mean, they've snake bit themselves over and over and over again. As far as the Vikings are concerned, why can't we be under center to hold the linebacker instead of dropping back and allowing them to drop back immediately or blitz?
Hard play action, roll Love out, get him moving, slice the field in half, all these things. Yeah.
Absolutely. He can do all that stuff. And they're going to have to against the Vikings because that's not a slouch defensive line.
No.
And then I have, as far as their offense is concerned, was Randall Cobb so special and Donald Driver so special that they just knew how to run this magical slant route and get 10 yards after the catch?
Sometimes I wonder. We haven't really seen it since then, have we?
No, everything is vertical. There's nothing that's diagonal. As far as LaFleur's offense is concerned. So I'm actually extremely worried about this weekend. I think the Vikings have a better than even chance to actually win the game. And then you were talking briefly about the Bears.
Yeah.
There's nothing more dangerous than a team that has a bunch of mediocre players with a couple of really good ones, but who believe in themselves.
Well, yeah.
And if they've come back time and time and time again this year. What have they won? 4 games in under a minute?
Something like that,
They come back and scored to win. So who has all the confidence in the world that they're going to beat whoever, no matter what the circumstances are they find themselves in?
Mm-hmm.
So I will let you go with that, Grant, because I know you've got a hard break coming up here. As always, go Pack, go, and the Bears still suck.
Thank you, Tim. That's Tim over in Sparta. So the Bears, just some preliminary thoughts on a matchup with the Bears. They run the piss out of the ball, man. Like, they're going to be able to do that thing against the Packers that the Panthers have done, that the Giants did really, really well. Like, the Bears are going to be able to do that thing. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But just sticking with the Vikings, like, yeah, the intermediate routes or the slant routes, something that's missing in this offense and something that Jordan Love really needs, especially considering the state of this O-line, they just need to be a little bit better at the scramble drill. When that first route doesn't work, like, these guys need to come back to the ball. Find space, make yourself available, help out your quarterback. Like, even on that play that went to Savion Williams, and Love was motioning for it, to be fair. He was waving everyone to go downfield, but, like, the camera angle zooms out and everyone's running verticals down the field. It's like, guys, scramble drill, the play's broken down, come back to the ball. So when you said Randall Cobb, that's what I thought of. And Matthew Golden's done it once or twice. I still think they have a real asset there and a real player that can help this offense. It just hasn't really happened yet. So again, for the millionth straight week, maybe Sunday. And to your point, Tim, I think the Vikings have more than a fair chance. I'm worried about this game. Packers fans should be worried about every game, every single game. This team has not earned the right last year or this year to beat. Yeah, this is a roll out the helmets game. The Detroit Lions have earned that right at times. Other teams have earned that right at times. This team, not a chance, especially against the Vikings. They haven't beat the Vikings. They didn't beat them once last year. We do have a break coming up, but I can take one more call in the meantime, and then we'll come back, do some more Packers thoughts. And Rashawn Gary specifically, I'll give you Matt LaFleur's comments from earlier today. Wisco Sports Show, who's this?
Ridge Runner Mark, how we doing, sir?
Good evening, Ridge Runner. I'm well.
Excellent. I just came to say, remember last week, I think it was, where I said, the Packers don't know how to win an ugly game?
Yes.
Was not last week an ugly game?
Yes. That was one of my favorite things about the Giants game. They hadn't been able to win a game like that yet.
Right. and I'm listening to, I think Pack-A-Day. I was listening to Pack-A-Day podcast afterwards, and I'm like, man, a lot of these folks and a lot of Packer fans are very much glass half empty. Like, all they could look at was everything that didn't work. Oh, look at all the drops.
Yep.
Yes. Awesome. You're not wrong. But man, isn't it good to say all that stuff? But wait, they still won the game. They won the game in spite of every chance they gave themselves to shoot themselves in the foot. And can we sustain that for the rest of the season and even into a Super Bowl? Probably not. But it'd be nice to see them grow and learn from this. And if they make mistakes next week, hopefully they're all new mistakes. Like we didn't see,
right.
Like the two penalties where they're like, hey, what is it? Illegal formation.
Yeah.
We didn't see any illegal formations. I don't know if we saw a lot of offsides or false starts.
No, just good old-fashioned drops. That was really the only thing on, and the special teams blowing, but that's nothing new. It was mostly just drops.
Yeah. Well, can we blame special teams? I mean, on some of that was on the wind. I mean, apparently that wind was insane. So
I'm not even thinking about the kicks. Like I'm thinking about the penalties, and I don't know. It's more than just missed kicks.
Yeah. So, but I think we really need to take a deep breath and relax and kind of enjoy the ride. And I think the other thing is everybody's expecting to feel like they felt when we won the Super Bowl in 2010, not understanding that nobody felt that way that season. They felt awesome at the end of the season, like, well, we should have seen this coming.
Yeah.
You don't see it coming. And they had some real clunkers that year where they really didn't have their head screwed on straight. And we keep thinking that we're supposed to feel like they just won the Super Bowl for the entire season, and then they win the Super Bowl. No. You're putting the horse before the cart, the cart before the horse.
Both. Yeah, or the horse behind the car. Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good call. I just, back to the Giants thing, I think that's the point that I like most by you. They had 3 or 4 opportunities to win a game like that and couldn't. So I know everyone wants to, I want an impressive win. I want a blowout win. Well, yeah, like a month and a half ago, I was looking for those too, but like this team has not earned the right to go chasing a big signature win. I want to see you scrap out a win like they did Sunday. Because if they had done that against the Browns and the Panthers, they'd be 8-1-1 or whatever it is right now, and we'd be chasing a division. We'd be chasing a 1 seed. But instead, you drop some passes, you miss some kicks, and it's like, I don't know. The Bears haven't done that thing. The Bears have had lots of games where they played poorly and still won. I want to see this team be able to do that. And we did on Sunday. I thought that was a good step in the right direction. I'm with you, Ridge Runner Mark. We'll come back on the other side of the show. Presented today by Lacrosse Beer House, corner 3rd and Pearl. Always appreciative of their support of the show. So if you're kicking around to our WKTY listeners this weekend, maybe need a place to get a beer after deer hunting or a place to set up shop downtown on a nice sunny early winter or late fall afternoon, go get one of their not signature, although they're certainly signature when I'm down there, very authentic German beers, the big mugs, the brats, the big pretzel, or some of the German fare. They got live music down there from time to time as well. Corner 3rd and Pearl, downtown Lacrosse. Appreciate Lacrosse Beer House, and excited to chat with Ryan Wood. Thanks to the Beer House later this week as well to talk Packers with our guy Ryan Wood. We'll come back. The latest on Rashawn Gary. Matt LaFleur talked about him today. I'll give that to you on the other side of this break.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
What went into Rashawn only playing 39 snaps the other day?
Yeah, it was just, I would say, a byproduct of the game. He's never been a huge snap count guy if you look at the course of his career. But yeah, just every game could unfold a little bit differently. And I think JJ, he's been doing a heck of a job. So I'd say that's more of just credit to how JJ's gone in there and done his job.
Wisco Sports Show, that's Matt LaFleur earlier today. Concerning for multiple reasons. Like, well, if you look at Rashawn Gary's career, he's never been a big snap count guy. Well, if he's not particularly effective in the snaps he's playing, and he hasn't been, and he's also not playing a lot of them, what are we doing? Guy makes like $20 million a year. And now he's playing across from Micah Parsons. He can't do any damage. Kingsley Enagbari's been worse, by the way. If you look at quick pressure percentage, some of the other stats, like he's been just as bad or just as ineffective. I shouldn't say bad. It's not like he's out there wrecking havoc. Just a little concerning to some of your texts. 608-321-1670. I neglect the text line, and I shouldn't. Brewers question. Sorry, I missed the boat on that, Eric and Madison. We'll circle back to that at a different time. This text is beautiful. This is perfect. This is exactly what I'm saying about the game script and the blueprint and what the Vikings should try to do on Sunday and what the Packers do on defense. This matchup, it concerns me. This text, and I don't have a name. It's my favorite text in a while. It says, the blueprint is as you described. If the defense doesn't get turnovers, the offense will see the ball 6 or 7 times, fail to score on 3 or 4 of them, and miss a field goal or 2, and you're sitting on 10, 13, or 17 points, assuming you make your extra point kicks. Exactly. Right? It's fine to run a no doubles defense. It's what Vic Fangio does. I don't know what Vic Fangio, I said that name twice. That's what Vic Fangio does. I don't know what Vance Joseph runs in Denver, but smart defensive coordinators and smart defensive minds around football have all agreed it's best to put a lid on the defense, give up lightweight underneath stuff for the sake of defending the big plays. All right, fine. It's fine to do that. But occasionally you need to get a turnover, and the Packers haven't done enough of that. And your offense needs to score in the limited opportunities that they get. Because if your defense doesn't get turnovers, you're only going to get 6 or 7 possessions, and the game's going to be shortened, and the offense is going to have limited opportunities and be on the sideline a lot, which is going to make it difficult to be in a rhythm. So then the Packers offense can't afford to have drops, can't afford to have an illegal procedure, can't afford to have a penalty, can't afford to give up a sack. All of that porks you. And getting porked on one drive is the difference between winning 24-17 and losing 16-13. And that's what we've seen. That's quite literally what we saw against the Panthers to a T. That's the exact blueprint. And the Giants tried to do it and almost got away with it because the Packers dropped a bunch of balls and then the defense dropped as many, maybe more interceptions. I mean, just a wild game. So, yeah, if the Vikings try to run the ball and throw short, which they should because that's the only thing that Kevin O'Connell should be trying to do with J.J. McCarthy right now. You got to try to get him into a rhythm and allow him to settle in instead of just throwing bombs every other play, which I know Kevin O'Connell wants to do to the detriment of his own quarterback, Darnold, and now McCarthy. If the Packers defense gets 2 interceptions and the Packers offense has a perfect day, well, yeah, the Packers win 35-14 or whatever, and it's a great game. But I can't trust the Packers offense to have a perfect day, and I can't trust the Packers defense to get turnovers. So instead of winning 35-17, you're in a 16-16 type of dogfight for your life, and your special teams blow. So I hate it. I hate having a game come down to the wire when I don't trust my offense to execute in limited opportunities, and I don't trust my special teams as far as I can throw them. That's another thing. You know, we talk about, well, the Packers offense, the DVOA and the EPA per play, it's also good. Why aren't they scoring more? Well, you know why they aren't scoring more is because their defense isn't getting turnovers and their special teams suck. So their average starting field position, like when was the last time the Packers got the ball like within the 20 or the 15? Never. They don't get any easy scores. So yeah, the Packers EPA per play and all that stuff is fine. But if they have to drive 80 yards every time they touch the ball, it's going to be difficult to score. And they're needing to pretty consistently drive 80 yards because their defense can't flip turnovers. Or when they have flipped turnovers, it was in the end zone once at the end of the game with Carrington Valentine. And it was the Eagles game on Monday Night Football after the Eagles had already driven like 8 minutes down the field. So even though the rare turnovers they've had haven't flipped the field, and their special teams hemorrhage field position yards like it's like they're going out of business. Romeo Doubs catches the ball at the 29 or whatever, 26, I think it was, returns it to the 39, and then Kingsley Enagbari, who you got to get on the field over Rashawn Gary, because, God, he's been great, gets a 10-yard holding penalty, backs him up inside the 20. It's like, hey, that's a 25-yard swing in field position because your edge rusher is holding on a punt return when your number one wide receiver is catching punts because it's the only guy you have to do it. Like, it's just laughable. So, of course, the Packers offense is struggling to hang crooked numbers, despite how efficient they've been. And all the advanced numbers would tell you they're great. EPA per play, EPA per pass, Jordan Love's efficiency numbers, DVOA. Yeah, it's all great. But when they're constantly getting the ball on their own 15-yard line, like, it's going to be tough. And that will further shorten the game, which will play into the opponents because the Packers have to drive all the way down the field, even if they do score a touchdown, which is going to take half a friggin' quarter. And then the other team's going to get the ball, and it's time to go on a death march because the Packers defense will allow it. Like, that's what's happening. That's the blueprint. I'm going to read this text again. If the defense doesn't get turnovers, the offense will see the ball 6 or 7 times, fail to score on 3 or 4 of them, and miss a field goal, and you're sitting on 10, 13, or 17 points, assuming you make your extra kicks, your extra point kicks, which I feel better about this weekend. Brandon McManus was a full participant in practice today. And to be fair to Lucas Haversack, it was windy, but like, okay, like those kicks look like you kicked into a tornado, not a strong wind. Ugh. Anonymous Pete says, you're looking at the Josh Jacobs situation like a fan. Excuse me, Pete, I'm an owner. These players have incentives in their contracts. They care about the money more than winning. If there are no incentives, then that's simply coaching malpractice. I don't think Josh Jacobs has an incentive ticker in his contract. I don't think that's what's at play here. I think he wants to play because he's a competitor, and the Packers need to be like, hey, man, at some point this season, we'd like you to be close to healthy. In fact, there's no world in which the Packers win multiple playoff games with Josh Jacobs not any better than 90%. So futzing around with him in these November games when he's not healthy and he's getting clobbered behind the line of scrimmage, what are you doing? Clemhead Mike says, I don't watch PBS. Thank you for clarifying. PBS has some good stuff. Come on now. Oh, but it's funded by the government. Yeah, not mostly. But again, I will reserve my commentary. I don't watch PBS, but their YouTube channel, PBS Wisconsin, they have famous bars and breweries. The first one they showed was Buzzard Billy's. Make sure to tell Bill. I will. Gordon in La Crosse says, is it possible to short the stock if they lose this weekend? My ownership stock, I'm going to look into it for sure. Depends on what type of defense they play. This Jeff Hafley defense versus what Kevin O'Connell should do is making me nervous. It's two stylistic approaches that do not match up well for the Packers. All right, we're going to take one final break. 3 minutes. We'll wrap up the Wisco Sports Show next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Zone Blitz pregame bash is back. Every Wisconsin home game 2 hours before kickoff at the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. And this year, do I have something special for you? It's a perfect snack for game day or any day. Wenzel's Farm Pro Snack Sticks. Come see me and I'll hand you 16 grams of protein to fuel you through the day. Wenzel's Farm offers that and so much more, crafted in small batches using premium cuts of meat, perfectly seasoned, and naturally hardwood smoked. Check out wenzelsfarm.com. Made by pros for pros.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. We've covered just about everything tonight. Bill Michaels Huddle coming up in just a few. Because we did such a great job, in my opinion, of hitting Brewers, Badgers, Packers tonight. Permission to complain about something for a couple minutes to wrap up? Thank you. So I guess there's going to be an NFL game in Paris. Did I see this? And now I don't have that in front of me, but I have the Pro Football Talk story of NFL monitors return of supersonic flight for potential European expansion. For 25 years, the Concorde/travel time from the United States to Europe nearly 25 years later, or nearly 25 years ago, the Concorde was grounded. With efforts underway to resurrect supersonic travel, the NFL is quietly monitoring the situation, reports Andrew Beaton. Currently, Boom Supersonic and other countries are working on a potential return of passenger flights that can fly faster than the speed of sound. The technology could return as soon as 2029. By cutting the flight time over the ocean in half, the Concorde allowed Phil Collins to play. Yeah, we know the Phil Collins story. The NFL would have one less impediment due to the possibility of putting a team or 2 or 4 in Europe. There's an NFL game that's going to be in Paris. Who is it? I saw the headline last night. I was rolling my eyes. The Saints finalizing Paris game for NFL International Series could be on 2026 schedule. I don't mind more football. I don't mind football early in the morning. The Germany game did something to me, man. I was watching at home and I was drinking my coffee and the whole thing just seemed a little too absurd. This was days after the Marshawn Kneeland news. So what happened was they have this nice moment on the field for Marshawn Kneeland, but then also for suicide awareness and depression awareness. But what happened is they had to say all this stuff, over the PA, which was nice. And then they had to repeat it all in German. And I'm like, this feels a little too bizarro world. And then they had the United States national anthem. And then they had the German national anthem, which again is fine, but it was 3 singers in Colts jerseys that were tucked in. I'm like, this stuff is just all so weird to me. There's too much all of the time in life. There's games in Paris, there's games in Europe, and then there was the Marshawn Kneeland story, and then for suicide awareness, which is great, but then let's repeat it in German, and it's like, this just seems all so dystopian. These international games, I know a lot of you have been against them. It's just, I don't know. I just don't like it. Can I just say that I don't like it? And that's my take. Do I have to expand any further? I don't think so. Also, it's my show. If I say it's Easter, you go look for eggs. Like, I get to say what I want, I guess. Beaton notes that although the NFL has no firm plans to put teams in European countries, the league has been keeping a close eye on the momentum behind commercial supersonic flights. Well, excellent. You keep an eye on that. Well, the idea of flight, I don't really care about the flight. I just care about the NFL stuff. Previously, the commissioner had dangled the possibility of a 4-team European division, Germany, Spain, France, for instance. Sensible outcome would be 2 in London and 2 elsewhere. Where would the teams come from? Most assume it would be relocation. The better option would be expansion. Here's the biggest reason not to do that. There are not enough quarterbacks to fill out 40 depth charts. I actually believe that. I don't think there are 40 starting NFL quarterbacks in the world. So that's a good point. Bill Michaels Huddle in just a couple minutes. Mike Renner tonight. We'll make our picks. We'll do buy or sell. The rest of you, I will talk to you tomorrow. Jesse Temple, Matt Collar, both tomorrow. Have a great night.